In New York, foreign ministers of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan issued a warning to North Korea that strong sanctions will follow any further provocations. Nearly 100,000 newly built apartments are to be sold in Korea next month, a record high for October, as builders strive to meet high housing demand. And a recent survey reveals a correlation between having more children and a higher standard of living for their parents, in spite of the challenges of raising kids. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Wednesday, September 30th. I'm Luke Clary. The foreign ministers of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan held a meeting in New York, and together they issued a warning that if North Korea makes another provocation, such as a rocket launch, strong sanctions will follow.
A key agenda item for the first foreign ministerial meeting held in a year between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo was a possible military provocation hinted by North Korea in recent days.
North Korea presents an ongoing security challenge to everybody. We will talk about that here this morning.
The three top diplomats agreed to strong response if North Korea does go ahead with a provocation, including a long-range rocket launch. They warned that prompt and stern sanctions by the international community and the UN Security Council will follow if the North provokes.
북한으로 하여금 더 아플 수 있는 그런 조치를 아마 검토할 수밖에 없을 겁니다. 이미 실무적으로는 그런 협의들이 진행이 되고 있습니다.
They also said that if sanctions take place, North Korea will become even more isolated economically and diplomatically. During the trilateral talks, South Korea again conveyed its stance to Japan that the recently revised security legislation in Japan must be implemented transparently and in a manner respectful of Korea's sovereign rights. A diplomatic source cited Japan's response that the security bills hold significance for sake of regional security, including North Korea's nuclear issue.
The U.S. Department of Defense has mentioned North Korea as a potential cybersecurity threat. Meanwhile, a private think tank says that if the North Korean regime collapses, responding only with the help of U.S. forces currently stationed in Korea would be difficult.
Citing last year's hacking attack on Sony Pictures Entertainment, U.S. National Intelligence Director James Clapper told the Senate that North Korea's cyber attacks are inflicting damage to the United States.
And this is an important illustration of when we could attribute very clearly, and there was uniform agreement across the intelligence community to attribute that attack to the North Koreans.
U.S. Defense Deputy Secretary Robert O. Work also submitted a letter to the Senate citing Pyongyang's hacking attack on Sony Pictures as the first example of cyber threats. U.S. lawmakers urged the government to bolster the country's preparedness against North Korea's cyber attacks.
We're not winning the fight in cyberspace. Our adversaries view our response to malicious cyber activity as timid and ineffectual.
The RAND Corporation, a private U.S. think tank, said recently that if the North Korean regime were to collapse, 150,000 more U.S. Army troops would be needed in Korea to remove weapons of mass destruction.
It's been exactly 25 years since Korea forged diplomatic relations with Russia in 1990. The two sides have made major progress in trade and personnel exchanges over the years, but many tasks remain to be addressed.
What represents Korea in Russia is, for the most part, Korean culture, including its music. K-pop in particular boasts an overwhelming presence in the country, commanding some 220,000 young Russian fans.
Музыканты, композиторы, это столько души своей туда, что очень приятно читать и осознавать то, что все-таки они стараются не только для себя, а для других. И это нас всех объединяет.
Bilateral personnel exchanges that numbered about 30,000 people when diplomatic ties were established in 1990 jumped 11-fold to 328,000 last year. Also, trade volume increased 134 times over the past 25 years. But what's holding back even more development in relations are limitations on how both sides view the other. There are many obstacles to overcome for Korea and Russia to maintain their strategic partnership.
Это означает взаимодействие не только в двусторонних делах, но и взаимодействие в решении региональных и глобальных проблем.
Active cooperation will be necessary for rail, gas, and energy projects in the Russian Far East region.
Nearly 100,000 newly built apartments are to be sold in Korea next month, a record high for the month of October. That's because construction companies have decided to sell their apartments ahead of schedule due to the high housing demand.
This is the site of an apartment complex in Yongin, Gyeonggi Province that will be available for sale in October. Promotional events for the complex were in full swing even during the Chuseok holiday.
거의 대부분이 중소형평 위주라고 보시면 될 것 같습니다.
6,800 units will be put up for sale at this complex, a record high for a single housing project. 3 model houses will be set up on a site that's 9 times the size of the Olympic Stadium. With large apartment complexes being supplied in the Seoul metropolitan area, 96,000 newly built apartments will likely be available for sale nationwide next month, the largest number ever recorded for the month of October. Construction companies are competing fiercely to sell their apartments while the demand for housing in the nation is high. However, concerns are rising over the possibility of excessive supply 2 or 3 years from now, as the number of newly built apartments has grown exponentially since the start of this year, emerging as a sign of fatigue in the housing market.
Foldable mobile phones or flip phones were the norm before the current generation of touchscreen smartphones came along. The latest buzz in the industry surrounds smartphones combined with the foldable feature. Let's see what the hype is about.
Mr. No Jin-guk is looking to buy a flip smartphone for his parents. You can still push the buttons as with a flip phone, but a touchscreen panel is also included.
부모님들 스마트폰 쓰시다가도 누르는 게 불편하시고 좀 더 간편하게 직관적으로 쓰시는 걸 더 실제로 원하시는 것 같더라고요.
These foldable smartphones, combining a keypad and touch panel, are gaining renewed attention. The function is close to a smartphone, while the cost is relatively cheaper. Using a flip phone also gives a sentimental charm from the days of analog. LG Electronics recently introduced its 4th such model, while Samsung Electronics showcased its flip smartphone in July. Looking ahead, the smartphone evolution will continue with a wallet-type phone, with its panels folding like a wallet. Mobile phones have come a long way, starting with the chunky brick phones that developed into flip phones, slide phones, and the latest smartphones. Ever-advancing technology is increasingly expanding consumer options.
Raising children is a major challenge for young couples, especially when both spouses work. But a recent survey reveals that the more children, the higher the parents' standard of living. Here's more.
This family has 3 children. Taking care of the kids is a challenge, but the parents say they feel twice as happy when they see their children play the guitar or when the whole family sits down together to chat.
제가 이렇게 아파서 누워있거나 뭘 못할 때 아이들이 제 옆에 와서 위로를 해줘요. 또 막내는 심지어 밥상도 차려준 적도 있고.
A survey conducted by the Byung-se University College of Medicine shows that on a scale of 1 to 100, the standard of living for parents of only 1 child fell by 2.5 points compared to parents of 2 children, and 9.3 points for childless couples. By contrast, couples with 3 children scored 1.1 points higher in terms of their quality of living. The results of the survey defy the stereotype that more kids means greater hardships for parents.
애들 키우면서 힘드신 거 많죠. 그게 힘든 것만 있는 게 아니라 기쁨도 주지 않습니까? 사람이 그냥 일정하게 사는 것보다는 자녀로 인해서 이 고민도 하고 즐거움도 받는 게 아마 전체적인 삶의 질을 높였다라고 생각합니다.
Experts say that parents' relationships with their children play a crucial role in their twilight years in the long term as life expectancy continues to rise.
In recent decades, the circus was nearly non-existent in Korea, but a new generation of young circus performers is hard at work training to pioneer an emerging Korean-style circus.
The handstand is one of the most basic yet most difficult acrobatic movements. They roll and they're lifted up. A brief loss of focus causes them to become unbalanced and take a tumble. The handstand can only be done when a person has strength, a sense of balance, and trust in one's partner. They are in Korea's only training program for circus performers, opened just a few months ago. Averaging 29 years in age, the 8 trainees have been undergoing rigorous training for 4 months now. Their goal is to create a new Korean-style circus that combines circus acrobatics and arts.
인체의 한계만 자랑하는 그런 서커스가 아니라 이렇게 사람의 가슴을 이렇게 움직일 수 있는 그런 예술이 담긴 서커스를 해보고 싶어요.
The Korean circus is in dire straits, with the nation's last remaining circus troupe, the Dongchun Circus, run largely by Chinese performers. So these young performers' efforts to achieve their dreams mean a lot for the future of the Korean circus.
Singer Lee Seung-hwan has launched a project to support indie bands to help energize the iconic underground culture of the Hongdae neighborhood. That and more on today's Showbiz News.
Singer Lee Seung-hwan is launching a project called Free From All to support independent bands and live clubs. He will select 5 highly promising bands every month and pay their venue rental fees so they can hold performances. The grant will be available only to bands capable of putting on a solo concert lasting more than 90 minutes, comprised only with their own songs. The concert proceeds will go to the bands. Idol group GOT7 released a new album titled Mad and the music video of its lead single, If You Do. The song describes the anger and dark feelings of a man who becomes defenseless when he falls in love. Especially noteworthy is the new group choreography performed by the GOT7 members. World-renowned soprano Jo Soo-mi will perform at the opening ceremony of the 20th Busan International Film Festival. Jo's repertoire is to include a new traditional aria, Ari-Arirang, based on the iconic Korean folk song Arirang. She will be accompanied by the Busan National Kugak Center's Traditional Music Orchestra and Dance Company. The 20th Busan International Film Festival will last for 10 days starting on October 1st at the Busan Cinema Center and in the Haeundae Beach area.
Many of us enjoyed the traditional rice cake songpyeon during the Chuseok holiday, one of the representative dishes of Chuseok. The rice cake varieties may look quite similar to the untrained eye, but each region and every home has its own unique take on songpyeon. Let's take a look. We first visit the Jeolla provinces, known for their tasty cuisine. You see the delicate flower decorations. This is flour songpyeon, a leading dish of Jeolla provinces.
옛날에는 시부모님들을 다 모시고 살았기 때문에 한 입에 드실 수 있게끔 모든 정성을 기울여서 만들었답니다.
The dough comes out in many colors. In the Jeolla region, where pine trees are abundant, songpyeon was laid on a bed of pine needles to infuse deep flavor.
피톤사이드라는 물질이 있어서 송편의 변질을 막아주고 솔잎에서 향이 나기 때문에 떡을 쪘을 때 은은한 향이 우러나오게 됩니다.
꽉 찼어요.
Now we head to the Chungcheong provinces where size is king. The generous Chungcheong sentiment can be seen in their extra large songpyeon, several times larger than the regular size.
1년 농사를 잘 짓기 위해서 2월 초하룻 날에 노비들에게 다이스만큼 나눠줬다고 합니다.
Non-glutinous rice flour is used to make the rice cake dough. The herb mugwort is added, and the dough is kneaded with cold water. The filling is typically mung beans.
쑥에는 비타민과 무기질이 풍부하고 또 녹두는 또 소화작용을 도와주기 때문에 이 두 가지를 가지고 아무래도 떡을 빚게 되면은 소화력도 도움을 주고 또 건강한 송편을 만들 수 있습니다.
In the mountainous Gangwon province, there is the sweet and also slightly bitter acorn songpyeon. For the dough, non-glutinous rice flour and acorn powder are mixed in a 3-to-1 ratio. The trademark of Gangwon songpyeon is the protruding filling as green kernel black beans go inside the rice cake.
투박하고 못생겼지만 바쁜 명절 시기에 손이 덜 가고 빨리 만들고 또 쫄깃쫄깃하고 맛있습니다.
In recent days, bell peppers and blueberries are even used to make songpyeon dough. The more you know about how it's made, the better the rice cake will taste. Nowadays, we can also enjoy expanding our options as songpyeon comes in a growing variety of colors and fillings. Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.